Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtotar Sata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu-Pad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtotar Sata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari 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 Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravarni Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschakte Shatarine. So I'm prepared to speak on Sri Vishnu-Sahasranama, and as is quite suitable, before speaking on that we can sing Sri Dasavata Stotram, which is being displayed. Cartels ready? Pralaya payodhi jale dhrittavanasi vedam vihita vahitra charitram nakhedam. Keshavadhitamina Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Kshitireha vipulatare tishtati tava prishthe dharani dharana kinna chakra garishthe. Keshavadhita kurma sharira jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare. Dasati darshana shikhare dharani tava lagna shashi kalanka kaleva nimagna. Keshavadhita Shukarupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Tava kara kamala varena kamadhuta shrinyam dalita hiranyakashipu tanubhiram. Keshavadhita Naraharupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Chalayasi vikramane balim adbhuta vamana padana khamira janita janapavana. Chalayasi vikramane balim adbhuta vamana padana khamira janita janapavana. Keshavadhita Vamanarupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare Kshatriya Rudhira Maye Jagadapagata Papam Svapayasi Payasi Shamita Bhavatapam Keshavadhita Bhrigupati Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadhita Bhrigupati Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Tarasi Dikshurane Dikpatim Kamaniyam Dashamukhamoli Balim Ramaniyam Tarasi Dikshurane Dikpatim Kamaniyam Dashamukhamoli Balim Ramaniyam Keshavadhrita Rama Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadhrita Rama Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Siva Pushi Vishade Rasanang Jaladabham Halahati Bhiti Milita Yamunabham Siva Pushi Vishade Rasanang Jaladabham Halahati Bhiti Milita Yamunabham Keshavadhrita Haladhara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadhrita Haladhara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Nindasi yagya vidheraha shruti jatam sadaya hridaya darshita pashughatam Nindasi yagya vidheraha shruti jatam sadaya hridaya darshita pashughatam Keshavadhrita Buddha Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadhrita Buddha Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Lachanivaha Nidhane Kalayasi Karavalam Dhumaketu Niva Kimapi Paralam Keshavadhutta Kalki Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Deva Kaveridamuditamudaram Shunu Sukhadam Shubhadam Avasaram Jaya Deva Kaveridamuditamudaram Shunu Sukhadam Shubhadam Avasaram Keshavadhutta Dashavidharupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dashavidharupi Shri Jagadisha Bhagavan ki jai. Ananta Rupa Rupi Dashavidha Rupi Jagadish Bhagavan ki jai. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Shreshtham Manum Api Shachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Mathurim Goshtavartim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tine Smarane Hoy Bhigna Vinashan Anayashe Hoy Nijavan Chita Puran. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Vishnu-Sahasranama, name 998, is Ratanga Pani, in whose hand, Pani, there is a chariot wheel. Ratha means chariot, and Anga means part of. So, according to context, it's understood. Context means that Krishna's not a carter. His carter, like you have Jimmy Carter, his forefathers must have been building carts or more likely driving carts around. So it's not that Krishna's carrying any part of what is there? There's the axle and whatever. But the chariot wheel, this particular part, he carried on a certain occasion. Or it can be taken to be another way of saying that because a wheel is characteristically part of a chariot or a cart, so Ratanga can be taken to mean any wheel. And in that way can refer to his Sudarshan discus also. But we just had the name Chakri, referring to his having a discus in his hand, Sudarshan Chakra. Parasha Bhatta points out that in name 995, Chakri, it's described as him being the possessor of the wheel, the chakra. Whereas in the current name, there's a slight nuance on that. That if you take this Ratanga Pani, means that it says it's right in his hand, he's right ready to use it. Often the Sudarshan Chakra is depicted as, or he's just there with the Lord, but when it's in his hand, that means he's going to use it. So he makes that distinction, and that refers that avoids the punar ukti dosham, or the fault of redundancy, of saying the same thing twice. So what's being pointed out, if we take this meaning, is that he's ready for action, and anytime he's ready. And Sudarshan Chakra is also on one hand, he never wants to leave the Lord, but he's always anxious to serve him. So he's always ready to go also. But he goes very quickly. One thing is, he goes very quickly, you can't escape. Another thing is, he wants to do his job and come back as quickly as he can, because he doesn't like to be away from the Lord's hand, even for a second. And the more general understanding for this name is the incident where Krishna, having vowed to not fight in the Kurukshetra battle, not specifically not to take any weapon, which works out as not fighting. He took up a wheel of a chariot, because on the battlefield there was the end of the day, and there'll be so many chariot wheels scattered here and there, along with heads and torsos and arms and legs and swords and spears and so many other things. It's a mess. Apart from all the soldiers on the battlefield, there must have been others to clean up the area for the next day's fighting. That's a job, big job to do. Once the battle is over, then you have to have a whole bunch cleaning up, get ready for the next day. So there was a chariot wheel lying around, and Krishna just happened to be there, and the first thing that he saw when he went to attack Bhishma. So he vowed not to take a weapon. So it's not really a weapon, because it's not made to be a weapon, although, as we'll find when we come to the last name, that's Sarva Praharana Ayuta, that he can make anything into a weapon, but it's not specifically a weapon. You could use anything as a weapon, theoretically. And in the case of Krishna, practically also. So he did and he didn't. It's like drinking water on Ekadashi. It's fasting and it's not fasting. Or you have the case of Ambarish Maharaj. It's borderline. Bhishma described this incident. Svanigamam apahaya mat pratigyam ritam adhikartam avapluto ratastaha dhritarata sharano bhyayaj chaladgur harim evahantum evham gatotariyaha. Fulfilling my vow. That's Bhishma had vowed that tomorrow, which was the day before that battle, he will either kill Arjuna or he will force Krishna to defend Arjuna. The only way Arjuna is going to live tomorrow is if Krishna defends him. If Krishna defends him, then I can't do anything, but I'm going to kill him tomorrow. And knowing full well that Krishna had taken a vow not to pick up any weapon or fight, Bhishma took his vow. And Krishna had already given another vow, Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta parnashyati, which he told to Arjuna that my devotee will never be vanished. And he specifically mentioned to Arjuna, Bhaktosi me sakha cheti, you are my devotee as well as my friend. So Krishna had two vows to fulfill, which Bhishma, he was determined to put Krishna into a, what do we call that, quandary? We didn't come in. Dharma sankat, yeah, we're trying to find an English word for that. A moral dilemma, that's it, a moral dilemma, but for Dharma sankat, it's more than morality, it's dharma, which is sometimes translated as morality, but it's a lot more than that. So, this is one of the great glories of Krishna. He's so glorious. When he steals, people write songs in glorification of him. The topmost, best people, the most cultured people, who would never steal anything themselves, glorify him. When he appears to be the most lusty person possible, the most glorious people, the most self-controlled people, they glorify him for this. It's not easy to understand God. He's not just sitting on a cloud chucking people into hell. He does that also, but that's not his main thing. He has so many wonderful things that he does. Baladev Vidyabhushan infers that his doing this, bearing the wheel of the chariot, breaking his own vow in order to fulfill the vow of his devotee, is mentioned again, or it's alluded to underline this and to bring attention. He's much laudable for this. Bhakta pratigya pratipalakatam ati shlagyatvat punaraha ratanga paniriti bhishmam prati pradarshita etad. Here we have shlagya. Ati shlagya, which means highly praisable. He's also named Chala. In Vishnu-Sahasranama we have the name Achala. He's immovable. But we also have the name Chala, which means movable, which is given the explanation by the acharyas that he's fixed in his word, but he is also movable in his word. If the need is there to make true Bhishma's promise, he swerves from his own promise. So in that way, achala means immovable, chala means movable. So by nature he's achala, he can't be moved. Yeah, everyone's welcome to turn off their cell phone. If you haven't yet done so, please do so. So this is Krishna's hand. That very hand which he placed on the hand of Prahlad Maharaj, that very hand which gives blessing, he used that for attacking his own devotee. These weapons he uses, they're used via his hand, right? His bow, his discus weapon, even his shield is held, his conch, all the weapons are hand weapons. They're not, you could theoretically, you could have fire coming from your mouth. That he also does. We have in Bhagavad Gita, not directly as a weapon, in the universal form. You can kick others also, but his primary weapons are from his hands. His hand is so by Ratanga Pani, it's drawing attention to his hand also. His hand is so glorious. In this regard, I want to read a paragraph from Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book describing Akrura's arrival in Vrindavan, and Akrura on the way meditating on the Krishna he's about to see, and he's giving various descriptions of Krishna. So he's meditating on Krishna's hand. Akrura says, or thinks in his mind, when the gopis were dancing with Krishna in the rasa dance, they became fatigued, and Krishna wiped his hand, which is as fragrant as a lotus flower growing in the Manasa Sarovar lake, over the pearl-like drops of perspiration on the faces of the gopis, and immediately the gopis became refreshed. Thus Akrura was expecting benediction from that supreme hand of Krishna. Krishna's hand occurs meditating upon, and Srila Prabhupada adds his meditation, that Krishna's hand is capable of bestowing benediction upon all kinds of men if they take to Krishna consciousness. If one wants material happiness like that of the King of Heaven, he can derive that benediction from the hand of Krishna. If one wants liberation from the pangs of material existence, he can also get that benediction from the hand of Krishna. And if one in pure transcendental love for Krishna wants personal association and the touch of his transcendental body, he can also gain that benediction from his hand. From his hand, he gives benedictions. This is the blessing pose. And we see in Kanchi, Vishnu Kanchi, his Varada means he's the giver of boons. So Varada Raja, he's the king of those who are giving boons. So his hand is like that. People go for the blessing, and is written on his hand, Ma Shuchaha. I'm told it's written. I can't read it because it's written in Tamil. You can verify that, right? They're not lying. Ma Shucha, his best boon is bestowing fearlessness. Do not worry. Name 999, Akshobhya, who is not shakable. This name came up previously in the 86th verse, in name 807 according to the numbering system given by Parashara Bharta. Kshobhya means who is agitatable. That's probably not a very much used word in English. Who is capable of being disturbed. And Akshobhya means who cannot be shaken. And this is usually given in the psychological sense, that one who's not disturbed in any circumstance. You may think, well, why is that given in the midst of the description of the weapons of the Lord? Shankaracharya explains that Ata eva ashakya shobana iti akshobhya. Because he has so many weapons, he's unassailable. If you have so many weapons, if you just have a catapult and you're attacked by a whole army, you're not likely to be able to resist. But if you have many weapons, like we see in the modern warfare, or even previous to modern warfare, there are different levels of warfare, right? There's the what do they call that? The cyber warfare, and then there's the psychological warfare, biological warfare, nuclear warfare, guerrilla warfare, and then there's I was going to say the conventional warfare, which means just boring old guns and bombs and things like that. So they have so many different ways, and so much energy of these demoniac governments go on making different weapons, and they call it defense. As they're planning to attack and kill others, they call it defense. At least that's what it's called in Britain, the Defense Ministry of Defense. Means how you're planning to kill others, bomb them, and all this kind of thing. Orwellian, we can say. There's, maybe you read 1984, a book by George Orwell. There's the Ministry of Love is the one that makes war. And is it? I don't know. I can't. There are only three ministries, and it's all whatever the opposite. Is it? There's a Ministry of Peace. That's the one that makes war. And what does the Ministry of Love do? That oppresses all the citizens, tortures people. Yeah, probably. Yeah. And practically, I've seen in many countries, the army in a country is just for keeping the people under control of the leaders. Just like in a small country neighboring India, almost completely surrounded by India, which I used to live in. And they have an army, but the only people they can fight, the only possibility is one side is India, the other side is Burma, and they don't. Most of the borders with India, and there's no hope for them if they to fight against India. So the army is just there for keeping the citizens under control and the rival politicians. That's what it's for. So there may be so many weapons. When there are many weapon systems, it becomes more difficult to fight against, right? We see when Krishna went to Shonitapura, where there's the place of Banasura. He had so many fortifications. They're all different mystic fortifications, electrical fortifications, and all different kinds. And Krishna, in various ways, destroyed them all. It was heavily fortified, but Krishna's a moving arsenal. He's got all the weapons with him. Any one of his weapons can destroy all the world. So even just by him saying the word hum, that's a mystical sound which can destroy. He can destroy the whole universe. Of course, it's not that anyone's saying it, but you have to have the power behind it. We hear about so many things that mystical feats used to be performed, and you say, oh, that's all stories, we don't believe that. But it used to be done, yogis could do. Just like the sages, they cursed Vena to die, and he died, just like they say, can't do that, it's not possible. But they had the power of tapasya, and by chanting the mantra, it will be effective. That's still going on, actually. And if someone lives a somewhat dharmic life, that's believed at least in the villages in Bengal. You don't cross the older people. If they've lived an honorable life, if they curse you, then you're going to be in trouble. And it actually happens. Also, if they I won't get into it, it's getting off the course, but they have that power. But Krishna is the reservoir of all power, and this is the point being made in these names, that just without the weapons he can do whatever he likes, but it's his pleasure to give others service, and he likes to be with his devotees and his weapons. He comes in this world and performs pastimes, human-like pastimes. So he has his weapons. Baladev Vidyabhushan says that he cannot be overcome. This name Akshobhya means even without the weapons, he's unassailable. So he makes that point. Radha Krishna Shastri, another commentator, says that Bhishma is describing the Lord who he saw for 10 days in the battlefield. And then Bhishma is just saying, all through the battle he's steady and straight, and his mind is not perturbed through all that's going on. Arjuna gets rattled, Yudhishthira gets rattled, Krishna doesn't get rattled. He's keeping a cool head. So even at the end of each day's fighting, they'd have a what do you call it? They have a parley. They'd come together and discuss how the day went and what should be our tactics for the next day. And Krishna was right there and giving good advice to them what to do. That's also connected. There's so many things. That's connected with how Bhishma became so angry, because the arrows were there, one arrow for each of the Pandavas. So was that Yudhishthira came and he begged them. Was it Arjuna? Arjuna begged them from Duryodhana, and then Bhishma became very angry. And then Duryodhana said, "You're not fighting properly." So then Bhishma became so angry. From the very beginning, Duryodhana was always trying to stoke the anger of his troops, because he knew it was difficult with Drona and Bhishma, because they were sympathetic to the Pandavas. So, Tavashishena dhimata. Look, indirectly he's saying, look, you fool, you trained up this man who you know is born to kill you. So in other words, he's goading him psychologically. Prasharbhata says about this name, Prapanna abhaya dana dhardhyat sva mahimanapi akshobhya. He cannot be shaken from the firm vow that he has taken to protect those who have surrendered to him. So that fits with the previous name. He's made his vow to protect his devotees, so he's pick up a chariot wheel, whatever, he has to protect Arjuna. And he has to protect Bhishma's vow also. So he's unshakable from his word there. And quoting from the Sharanagati Gadyam of Sri Ramanuja, the Lord, he's quoting the Lord here, Anritam Nokta Purva Mecha Nacha Vakshe Kadachana. I have never uttered an untruth before and will never utter one ever. Ramo Dvir Nabhibhashate. Rama never talks with two tongues. His word is clear. Sakradeva prapannaya tavasmi chayachate abhayam sarva bhutebhyo dadamye tadvratang mama. It is my vow, Lord Ram said, to protect unconditionally from every living being anyone that surrenders to me even once or seeks my protection, saying, I am your servant. Sarvadhaman parityaja mam ekam sharanam raja ahang ta sarvapabhebhyo moksha yishami ma shucha. Give up all dharmas except this dharma, your sanatan dharma, or surrender to me. Only take shelter in me, and I will release you from all sins. Do not worry or fear. In the forest, Mother Sita tries to persuade her husband. Yes, the wife is meant to see the husband as Bhagavan, Pati Parameshwara, but in her case, her Pati was Parameshwara directly. But still, she sees her duty, among her duties, not only to serve him, and she expects to be protected by him, but to give him advice as and when needed. So she said to him, well, you've come to the forest, and why you have these weapons? It's very dangerous to have weapons. Weapons means danger, and she told the story of one rishi who Indra wanted him to fall down because Indra generally doesn't like rishis doing too much austerities. So Indra, in disguise, entrusted some weapons to him and said, you keep them with you and look after them for me. So just carrying around this sword all the time, the feeling I have to use it came in his mind, and he got distracted by that. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Our desires develop by our association. So she said that, she told Rama, it's very, very dangerous. You're carrying these in the forest. The forest is meant for peaceful life. But Rama said that that's for the rishis, the peaceful life. But I gave a vow to come to the forest to protect the rishis. I'm a kshatriya, I'm not a brahmana, so I have to keep my word of protecting. And he said, this is the point here, he won't swerve from his word, even if it means giving up yourself and Lakshman. But this I have to fulfill my vow. Apyaham jivitam jahyam tvam vasite salakshmanam natu pratigyam sangshrutya brahmanebhyo visheshataha. I've given my word to the brahmanas, so I'd rather give up my own life, or even you and Lakshman, than break my promise, especially that's which is made to the brahmanas. So he's fixed in his word. Another verse in that regard, with regard to Vibhishana, there's that famous verse recited already, how Lord Rama gives his vow to protect anyone who comes to his shelter. Then another verse in this regard, spoken by Lord Rama, Mitra bhavena sampraptam natyajayam katanchana dosho yadyapyatasya syat satang etat agarhitam. I will not forsake anyone who has approached me with a feeling of true love, even if this person has faults. This conduct is considered agarhitam. This is the proper conduct. This kind of conduct is that which will not be which will not be denounced, will not be rejected by the elders and great persons. So these considerations, previous names, Satya Sandha, he who never breaks his word, Achala, Achyuta, all these names which have previously appeared in Vishnu-Sahasranama, they all add up to his akshobhyatvam, his quality of being unruffleable, unshakable in any circumstance. That is considered a great quality in the midst of great distress. One is not disturbed. It's not easy, huh? Sometimes people give up faith in God, feeling so many difficulties. Actually, a true devotee thinks, someone who with an incomplete understanding of God thinks, if we have so many difficulties, then there can't be any God. I don't believe in any God. Or I have to try another God. If you're in Hinduism, you can try another God. Or you can go to Christianity or whatever, try out some different gods. Or what's the best God? Investing in which God gives you the best return? Huh? Sai Baba. Sai Baba. Well, I don't know. There are many trains from Hyderabad and Secunderabad to Tirupati, and there are many to Nanded also. Nanded is for Shirdi, for Sai Baba. So you can try one time and one the other time, whatever. It's that I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying that's the mentality. Check out the different gods, see which one works for you. You can get a recommendation from your friends, get a tip, investment tip. So people may give up. I went to this God but didn't help me, and I believe in God, I've been worshipping God all my life, but so many difficulties. And not only should one's commitment not be shaken, but a more advanced devotee thinks, when in great difficulty, thinks, now Krishna's being very merciful to me. And if everything's going very nicely, he thinks, why is Krishna why so much comfort? It means he doesn't trust me. He may think like that because Yudhishthira asked Krishna, what what do you do when you're merciful to someone? Implying that we've been your devotees all our lives and we've just had one trouble after another in our life. What do you do to someone who you show your mercy to? I thought you're supposed to be merciful to us. Yasyaham anugrihnami harishe taddanam shanai. What's the next line? Swajana. Tato dhanam tyajantyasya swajana dukha dukitam. He says, Krishna told Arjuna, oh, to someone I'm very merciful to do, I take away all their wealth, which can mean all their happiness, and gradually take it all away, and they become penniless, and all their relatives reject them, and this is my mercy. So it takes great faith and fortitude to be unshakable, even in many difficulties. One of the famous narrations in the Hebrew Bible is that of Job. There's a saying, the patience of Job, because God gave him so many severe difficulties one after another. At the end of it, God just, when Job asks why, he didn't lose his faith in God, but he said, why did you do that to me? And God just said, well, I'm God, I can do whatever I like. It didn't give a message of bhakti or anything like that. He said, I'm God, right? So who are you to ask? Now, Krishna doesn't experience any distress, but he experiences great happiness. What does it mean to be undisturbed in? You think you can understand what it means to be disturbed in distress, but in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also talks about not being disturbed in happiness. And what does that mean? Not to be disturbed in happiness. For instance, he talks about this several times. Samadvam, he uses this term. Samabuddhi, stira buddhi, stita pragya, one whose consciousness is fixed, one who's equal in all circumstances, equal to others, equal in his consciousness. For instance, in this regard, there are many such words. Samadvam yoga uchyate. Equanimity of mind is said to be yoga. So, one of the things he says in this regard, which is very applicable to this understanding of not being disturbed. Now, Krishna is speaking about the yogis, or those who are trying for spiritual perfection. Na prahrishet priyam prapya nodvijet prapya cha priyam stira buddhir asamudho brahmavid brahmani stitaha. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, whose sthira buddhi, whose intelligence is fixed, never bewildered, who is Brahmavid, who knows what is Brahman, who knows what is spiritual. Srila Prabhupada translates this. Who knows the science of God. He is Brahmani stita, he's fixed in transcendence. So, not lamenting upon obtaining something unpleasant, that's a great quality. But what about not rejoicing upon achieving something pleasant? We have also, Krishna says in the 12th chapter, is again speaking about this quality of being equipoised in all circumstances. Samashatro cha mitre cha tata mana pamana yoho shitoshna sukha dukheshu samasanga vivarjitaha tulyaninda stutir muni santushto yena kenachit aniketa stiramati Bhaktiman me priyo naraha. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy. When you're praised, we like it, but when you're blasphemed or criticized, but equipoised, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. So equal to friends and enemies, equal to insults and praise, that's the quality of the yogi. That is a test of a yogi. And so what does it mean? It means he doesn't become elated. Oh, everyone's praising me. How wonderful. He doesn't think like that. He thinks that if I'm suffering some distress, that's Krishna's mercy on me, that I'm being able to work off my sinful reactions. And if I have some happiness, what's considered happiness is wealth, beauty, praise by others. Then I'm working off my pious reactions. It's sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm unhappy by material estimation, but he knows anyway I have nothing to do with all of this. Whether it's too hot, too cold, just right, happiness, distress. Of course, for the devotee, he's not foolish. He maintains his body for the service of the Lord. We see this in the case of Srila Prabhupada. He took certain measures for maintaining his body for the service of the Lord. With his diet and his regulation and his exercise. But at the same time, he would just go on with his service, and he wasn't fanatical about these things. So Krishna, he is the exemplar of this, that if he's praised, he likes. That's one of the names that we have in Vishnu-Sahasranama, Stava-priya. He likes to be glorified. But then he likes even more the chastisement by his dear devotees. But you got to don't try it. Don't think I'm a dear devotee. When don't think you're a devotee, then when you're so close to Krishna that you don't think of him as God, then you can do it. Otherwise, don't try it. Just like to the wife of the President of the United States, her relation with him is as his wife. With pretty much every other American citizen, the relationship is as president and regular citizen. But for the wife, before he's getting that post, after he's getting that post, still the first consideration is my husband. And it doesn't stop being my husband and it doesn't stop that she can sometimes chide him or joke with him, because she's that close, but not everyone can do that. And in public, she acts as the first lady. She keeps up the protocol. So like that, when someone's very close to Krishna, then he may be God, okay, but in the meantime, he's misbehaving, so I have to punish him. Right? That came with Jagannath Mishra. He was in a dream. The Brahmana came to him and said, look, you're chastising your son, and that's not proper. You should know he's the worshipable Lord for all the universes. And Jagannath Mishra said, well, he might be, but he's my son, and it's my duty to chastise him. So, he may be God, but don't pull your God trip on me. I'm your father. So Krishna likes being praised, but he can tolerate insults as he did with Shishupal? 100 times. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Actually, that was only in Krishna's presence. Otherwise, he was, and publicly. Otherwise, he was all the time. All the time. It's just like a devotee, anything he says, it may be something like, please put that light on, but it's just that everything Srila Prabhupada said was imbued with full Krishna consciousness. So even if he doesn't directly speak of Krishna, it's completely imbued with Krishna consciousness. So everything Shishupal said was completely imbued with Krishna consciousness, but not favorably. He's had this overwhelming hatred of Krishna. And Krishna tolerated. But then there comes to a point where, okay, 100 times, I gave the promise, 100 times, okay. All right, then it's time to be chakri for you also. So we heard about some of his weapons, starting with his conch. That's not a conventional weapon. And then his disc, his sword and his disc, and we have his bow and his wheel of a chariot, and how many more? If we're going to say all the weapons that he has, it's unlimited. So just to summarize it all up, the last name, Sarva Praharana Yudha. He who has all weapons. Previously we had Sarva Shastra Britam Varaha, the best of wielders of all weapons. He's the best bowman, he's the best swordman, he's the best club fighter, any weapon. He has all weapons and he's the best at utilizing them all. Praharana means to strike, to beat, to hurt, attack. So one who has all kinds of destructive weapons, or highly effective weapons, which are meant for punishing the evil persons. Now, it might be thought that, well, we already had this, Sarva Shastra Britam Varaha. But the point is brought out here by Parashara Bhatta, there's no redundancy, because you can simply have weapons, but they can be formal. What's the word for that? Formal weapons? Ceremonial, that's the word, thank you. They may be ceremonial weapons. Just like the King of England, he may knight someone by striking, well, just touching a sword to his shoulder, but the King of England doesn't know how to use a sword for fighting, and is not meant for fighting, that sword, and nor does the person who's getting knighted. It used to be you're being inducted into a martial order, but now it's just anyone who becomes famous and pays enough money to the ruling party under the table or whatever. And again, speaking of the British monarchy, they have these soldiers, the Royal Guard, and they do their marching and all this, which is marching in a kind of military style that went out of date, at least with the First World War. There was the old idea, infantrymen used to be soldiers on the ground, and then there was cavalry on horses, and then when they had tanks, then horse becomes useless, but still they have, just as ceremonial, they have that. So Krishna also, we see the deities in the temple, he'll be there with his weapons, but it's just, you can say ceremonial like that, but he really uses them also. So Sarva Praharana Ayudha means He has the weapons and they're really meant for use, and he's ready to use them also. From Narayana Kavacha, which invokes the Lord and his weapons for protection, there's one prayer, Sarva Padbhyo Hare Nama Rupa Yana Yudhani Naha Buddhindriya Mana Pranan Pantu Parshada Bhushanaha. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead's holy names, his transcendental forms, his carriers, and all the weapons decorating him as personal associates protect our intelligence, senses, mind, and life air from all dangers. Purport. There are various associates of the transcendental personality of Godhead, and his weapons and carrier are among them. Here, carriers is given in the plural, but in the purport it says carrier. That means Garuda. In the spiritual world, nothing is material. The sword, bow, club, disc, and everything decorating the personal body of the Lord are spiritual living force. Therefore, the Lord is called Advaya Jnana, indicating that there is no difference between him and his names, forms, qualities, weapons, and so on. Anything pertaining to him is in the same category of spiritual existence. They are all engaged in the service of the Lord in varieties of spiritual forms. So we see such statements repeatedly in the Bhagavatam, that it's all one. But how it's one, that is to be understood. This Advaya Jnana means undivisible, the knowledge of the indivisible. So there's variety in oneness also. The oneness, they're all of the spiritual quality, but there's variety in oneness. But if you read, especially if you read the Sanskrit of the Bhagavatam, you'll see again and again and again it's spoken of the oneness, emphasizing that we are all meant to be, we are spiritual, as is the Lord. We're not meant to be part of this material world. Many descriptions in the Bhagavatam of the Lord's weapons, a description of him appearing in Daksha's sacrificial arena. Daksha, that is, it's pretty. His complexion was blackish, his garment yellow like gold, and his helmet as dazzling as the sun. His hair was bluish, the color of black bees, and his face was decorated with earrings. His 8 hands held a conch shell, wheel, club, lotus flower, arrow, bow, shield, and sword. And they were decorated, his 8 hands were decorated with golden ornaments such as bangles and bracelets. His whole body resembled a blossoming tree, beautifully decorated with various kinds of flowers. So God, as he's seen in this world, is generally seen as the supreme ruler. So the ruler means he rules by force as required. That's the general conception. Of course, we have in Brahma Samhita also Lila Ayatena Bhuvanani Jayatyajas. He rules by his pastimes. But here the description is given is like a blossoming tree, and the flowers on that tree are his different weapons and decorations. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, generally in the 4 hands of Vishnu there are a wheel, club, conch shell, and lotus flower. These 4 symbols are seen in the 4 hands of Vishnu in different arrangements. The club and the wheel are the Lord's symbols of punishment for the demons and miscreants, and the lotus flower and conch shell are used to bless the devotees. From Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, describing the liberation of King Jarasandha, Srila Prabhupada writes, In his Vishnu form, the Lord carries 4 weapons in his 4 hands. A lotus flower and a conch shell in 2 hands, and in the other 2 hands, a club and a disc. The club and disc are meant for the infidel miscreants and demons, and the lotus flower and conch shell are for the devotees. But because the Lord is the supreme absolute, the result of all his weapons is one and the same. With the club and the disc, he chastises the miscreants so that they may come to their senses and know that they are not all in all, for above them there is the Supreme Lord. And by bugling with the conch shell and offering blessings with the lotus flower, he always assures the devotees that no one can vanquish them, even in the greatest calamity. Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Pani. The Supreme Lord considers that if he were to keep these items, his Shankha, his conch, his Chakra, his disc, his Gada, his club, and Pani means in his hand, the Lord considers that if he were to keep these items elsewhere for protecting his devotees, when there is a need to protect them, there might be a delay in getting them to him. Therefore, he keeps them with him all the time. Although they're ready to come to him in a flash of a second, but he thinks, I'll keep them with me all the time because I have to be ready to protect my devotees all the time. In this regard, Parashara Bhatta has stated, Patu Pranata Rakshayam Vilambam Asahamiva Sada Panchayudhim Bibhrat Sa Na Sri Ranganayakaha. May Lord Sri Ranganath protect us. He always has in his hands 5 weapons, as if impatient of any delay in protecting those surrendered unto him. So, Sava Praharana Ayudha. Krishna has various weapons. When fighting with Shalva, he pierced Shalva with a shower of arrows and struck Shalva's sober vehicle with his club, demolishing it. When Shalva descended from his airplane and rushed to Krishna to attack him, Krishna took up his Sudarshan chakra and cut off Shalva's head. So using various weapons. So we've just seen so many names about weapons, beginning with Shankabrit, the holder of the conch, Nandaki, who has the sword called Nandaka, Chakri, who has the disc, Shangadhanva, who has the bow, Gadadhara, who has the club, Ratanga Pani, who has the weapon of the conch wheel. But there are other weapons also. Sri Ramanujacharya, again in his Sharanagati Gadyam, praise Svanurupa Achinchang Shakti Shankha Chakra Gadasi Shangadi Asankhya Nitya Niravadya Nirati Shaya Kalyana Divyadhyudha. Praying to the Lord, my dear Lord, you bear all the weapons of inconceivable powers. You have them with you. And they are such weapons as the conch, the disc, the club, the sword, and the bow are suitable for you alone. And you also have other innumerable auspicious divine weapons exceeding all others in power and force. So he has innumerable weapons. So these have been mentioned here, the conch, the sword, the disc, the bow, the club. These 5 are prominently mentioned, but it doesn't end there. There's the Panchayudha Stotram, glorifies these 5 weapons. There's also the Shodashayudha Stotram, which describes 16 weapons that the Chakra himself has. He has his own team with him. But that's not the limit. He has all kinds of weapons. They're not simply some tools of battle in the mundane sense. How powerful is your weapon? Okay. Let's make more and more powerful weapons. We make missiles and anti-missiles, anti-anti-missiles, anti-anti-anti-anti-missile. Shoot one up to attack, and then another one comes to shoot that one, another one comes to shoot the one which is going to shoot the other one, and you have a big fireworks display. But each one of the weapons of Krishna's weapons has far more power than all the weapons that have ever been used in the universe by the mundaners, all put together. Any one of his weapons. So sarva means all, and praharana means that which attacks. So, and ayuda means weapon. So it means, it's just saying there's so many, all of them. Just as he has infinite powers, and he has infinite weapons. He uses in his various avatars. We have in the Dash avatar, four are peaceful and 6 who are violent. And even the peaceful Vamana, he got his work done peacefully, but it was a kind of violence in another sense. And having been a very peaceful Brahmana, he showed his universal form with all power and might, and as Arjuna became afraid to see. In his universal form, he showed all the weapons also, among other things. So he has unlimited weapons, and indeed all weapons, even in this mundane sphere, they are all manifestations or perverted reflections of Krishna's weapons. So we can say, even anyone has any weapon. That the power in the weapon comes from Krishna. Everything comes from Krishna. The demons in this world are making more and more weapons, not to protect dharma, but to further their nefarious plans. But the power of the weapons comes from him. As Arjuna, he found out when the Brahmana, his son died upon being born, and Brahmana came and stood outside the palace of Ugrasena and said, "What is this? All you big Kshatriyas, you can't do anything, you're all useless. I haven't done anything wrong. If my son dies, it means the king must be at fault." That was the understanding. In a state, in a country where the Brahmanas are properly performing their duties, if anything goes wrong, it must be a discrepancy on the part of the king. It means some karmic reaction. And eventually, on the 10th son being, before he was born, Arjuna promised, "I will protect." And the Brahmana said, Krishna himself is here, Pradyumna is here. I'm not Pradyumna, I'm Arjuna with the Gandiva. So Arjuna with Gandiva, he made a complete net protecting the maternity room so that no one could come in, but still the child when born just vanished. So Arjuna understood that, whoops, I thought I was so powerful, but there's some power that is bewildering me. And this was Mahavishnu's trick to bring Krishna and Arjuna to him. And it's described in Bhagavatam that after seeing the abode of Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu himself, Arjuna became so amazed that he concluded that whatever extraordinary power a person exhibits can only be a manifestation of Krishna's mercy. So we have very powerful people, but they should know, if anyone has any big position, it's Krishna's mercy on them. Arjuna also, after Krishna left, he became as if impotent. It was impossible, but he was overcome by just some ruffian tribal people when he was supposed to be protecting Krishna's queen. So Arjuna reflected, I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna to whom all the kings offered their due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. Arjuna had a vision of the universal form. Displaying the destructive power of the whole universe in Krishna, manifestation of Krishna. Robert Oppenheimer, in 1945, he witnessed the first atomic bomb exploding in the desert in New Mexico, and he was a fan of the Bhagavad Gita, so he, in advance, I presume, or maybe he just recited it extemporaneously, the verse from Gita, if hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, they might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. So no weapon had been imagined to be so powerful as the nuclear bomb. But he was thinking that this is just a little reflection of the great power of the Supreme Lord. So these weapons, especially these 5 weapons, they're always known to be eternal companions of Lord Narayana, just as Lakshmi is an eternal, she's probably more than an eternal companion, she is he in female form. And the same thing, even though Mother Sita wasn't with Rama from the beginning, only when she was given by Janak Maharaj to Rama, she is always with him, as is evident from her statement to Ravana, that she and he, Rama, are inseparable, as is the sun and the sunshine. And later Lord Rama said this to Agni also. It might have seemed that Agni took away the Sita, but Ram told Agni that actually we're always together, just as the sun is always with the sunshine. I'm going to just walk around for a few minutes because sitting so long for me is a bit hard on my back. So, Hare Krishna. We have kirtan for 5 minutes, jump, 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 and then we'll get back to this. There's still some way to go for this talk. Past 7 o'clock.
No problem.
It's
Even 9 o'clock. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, just find it.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jai, Jai, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
In the verse which is generally recited after the Vishnu-Sahasranama, although it's not officially part of it, we have the names of these weapons given also. Vanamali, Gadi, Sharangi, Shankhi, Chakri, Chanandaki, Sriman, Narayano, Vishnu, Vasudevo, Virakshatu. So it's a prayer to Lord Narayan. Protect us, you, Narayana, who is the Vanamali, who has the forest garland, who has the mace, conch, sword, and disc, and who is called Vishnu and Vasudeva. The different forms of manifestations of the Lord have different weapons, and at the same time he has all the weapons, but he only manifests at certain times different weapons. But it's stated about Hanuman with Rama that although Rama appeared to everyone with his bow and arrows and sword, but Hanuman could see his Shankha and Chakra also, his conch and wheel. And Lakshman is standing on the right side of Lord Rama. So Hanuman is talking to both of them with two hands. But Govindaraj, the commentator, says that Hanuman sees Lord Ram in his Narayan form, holding his eternal companions, the conch, wheel, club, and bow. So Hanuman laments that the Lord he's decorated with all ornaments as Lord Narayana. Now that he's in the forest, he's devoid of all ornaments, but still his weapons are always with him, even if not seen. That Krishna has all weapons is described, all different kinds of weapons, described when he was fighting Lord Shiva, who was fighting to protect Banasura. So there it's described, this is from Krishna book, that Lord Krishna counteracted a Brahmastra with another Brahmastra, a wind weapon with a mountain weapon, a fire weapon with a rain weapon, and Lord Shiva's personal Pashupatastra weapon with his own personal weapon, the Narayanastra. And then he bewildered Lord Shiva with a yawning weapon. Made him feel tired. In Krishna book I was on describing, Lord Shiva then took to his last resort. He released his greatest death weapon known as Shivajwara, which destroys by excessive heat. It is said that at the end of the creation, the sun becomes 12 times more scorching than usual. This 12 times hotter temperature is called Shivajwara. What can stand up to that? But when the Shivajwara weapon personified was released, he had 3 heads and 3 legs, and he came toward Krishna, appearing as if he was burning everything to ashes. He was so powerful that he made blazing fire appear in all directions, and Krishna observed that he was specifically coming toward him. As there is a Shivajwara weapon, there is also a Narayanajwara weapon, which is represented by excessive cold. When there is excessive heat, one can somehow or other tolerate it. But when there is excessive cold, everything collapses. This is actually experienced by a person at the time of death. At the time of death, the temperature of the body first of all increases to 107 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the whole body collapses and becomes as cold as ice, immediately becomes as cold as ice. 2, counteract the scorching heat of the Shivajwara, there is no other weapon but the Narayanajwara. Therefore, when Lord Krishna saw that the Shivajwara had been released by Lord Shiva, he had no recourse other than to release the Narayanajwara. So Shiva was really trying his best. He was fulfilling his promise to Bana. But there's sometimes you try your best, and even for Lord Shiva, it's not going to be enough, because when you're up against Krishna, then it's a case of Rake Krishna Mareke, Mare Krishna Rakeke. If Krishna wants to protect you, who can kill you? And if Krishna wants to kill you, who can protect you? Lord Sri Krishna is the original Narayana and the controller of the Narayanajwara weapon. When the Narayanajwara was released, there was a great fight between the 2 Jwaras. When excessive heat is counteracted by extreme cold, it is natural for the hot temperature to gradually reduce. And this is what occurred in the fight between the Shivajwara and the Narayanajwara. Gradually the Shivajwara's temperature diminished, and the Shivajwara began to cry for help from Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva was unable to help him in the presence of the Narayanajwara. So when Krishna shows his full power, even Lord Shiva can't help you. That was the case also with Durvasa Muni. He went to Shiva for protection from Sudarshan Chakra. Not possible. Dhruva Maharaj also used a Narayanastra. That's described. He was given a Narayanastra, which he used when the Yakshas, they made all kinds of mystical delusions. But as soon as he put that Narayanastra, that arrow, on his bow, then all the illusions were dispelled. Now it's called Narayanastra. In this case, it means given by Narayan and imbued with his power, but it's not Lord Vishnu's personal weapon. Prashabhata, commenting on this name, explains that this name, Sarva Praharanarayudha, means that he, Vishnu, has countless weapons, and they're all powerful in removing all the obstacles encountered by the devotees who surrender to him. So Prashabhata says, he's the great leader and the great ruler, so it's fitting that he should have great weapons also, which have the power to destroy the enemies of his devotees. So his weapons, they serve as weapons and also as ornaments. When the demons see him, they become afraid of these weapons. But when the devotees say, very beautiful decoration on the Lord. He appears in his temples, and devotees like to go and take darshan, to present themselves before the Lord. They're very happy to see him decorated with all these weapons. So that maybe we can see also in this world also that there may be military parades in which the soldiers, they're going with their weapons, and they're not using them to fight at the time, but it shows they're soldiers. And it used to be that it was a very colorful parade. And again, talking about the British royalty, they have the royal guy, they're dressed in red, bright red jackets, and these, I think they're called Busby hats, these big, they're not very practical, but big hats, but they used to go to war all dressed up. It's fun for Kshatriyas, it's like going to a party. And the weapons, they're conscious of their duty. They're all vowed, they all partake in the vow of Vishnu to protect his devotees. So they're also always ready to help him. Although he doesn't need any help, but that's the whole meaning of his being the personality of Godhead. As a personality, he interacts with other personalities. He's not just some remote energy, but he's a personality. That means he engages, he interacts with other personalities. So his weapons, they help him in his duties as the Supreme Lord to protect the devotees and maintain order in the universe. That's his ongoing commitment from the time of the creation to the time of the destruction. When Krishna says, I'll protect my devotees, it's not just when he says it, but he's verbalizing an eternal principle. And he does that through his weapons. Shankaracharya, in explaining this name, says that, he has the chakra, gada, nandaka sword. He has so many weapons, shanga, the bow. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have any other weapons. And Shankara gives the idea that even though fingernails are not considered weapons in love battles, but that's not what's being discussed here. But he uses his fingernails to pierce the body of Hiranyakashipu, which was otherwise invincible. Even the thunderbolt of Indra couldn't do anything to his body, but with his fingernails. Srila Prabhupada, commenting on this, is speaking in a lecture in 1977. Prahlad Maharaj, Tatkara Sparsha, touch of the lotus palm of Nrsimhadev, the same palm where there is nail. Tavakara Kamala Varena Kamadbhuta Shringham. The same palm with Naka Adbhuta Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringham. Immediately with the nails only, the Lord did not require to kill this gigantic demon, simply nails. So the same hand that was put on the head of Prahlad, the same hand he had, with the fingernails of that hand, he had killed the gigantic demon. The demons, the followers of Hiranyakashipu in the present day, they invent more and more sophisticated, they call advanced weapons, trying to outdo each other. But Krishna already has all the most advanced weapons, and you're never going to catch up with him. You can't defeat him. Hiranyakashipu thought he had everything worked out. Now I'm invincible. But Krishna had weapons that he couldn't even imagine. No one had imagined, that was said, the form of Nrsimhadev. No one had imagined such a form before. So Hiranyakashipu, in seeking benedictions, he asked, I can't be killed by this, I can't be killed by that, I won't be killed at this time of day, I won't be killed in the night, I won't be killed by any persons. He listed everything, thought, great, I got it. But he didn't imagine, it was outside his imagine that he would be killed by fingernails. So Krishna has all kinds of weapons. And Shankara comments also that Shankaracharya says he possesses all kinds of weapons with which he can strike. That, in other words, they're not simply ceremonial. And that his weapons, they signify his Satya Sankalpa, another name. His vow or his decision will come true. So all his weapons are to emphasize that. For the protection of my devotee, you think I'm just some deity in a temple? Well, I've got all these weapons and I can use them. The point of the protection of his devotees is being emphasized in these last few names of Vishnu-Sahasranama, and Parashara Bhatta has been one major point which he's emphasized throughout the whole 1,000 names, that Vishnu acting in this world acts for the protection of his devotees. So that's being emphasized in this last series of names. We see throughout the whole of the commentaries of Shankara and Parashara Bhatta that Shankara, he always explains the names in terms of the greatness, the majesty of the Supreme Lord, which is if we see Vishnu-Sahasranama, that seems to be the obvious understanding, but Parashara Bhatta always explains the names in terms of the Lord's love for and his tendency toward his devotees, his protection of his devotees, his making himself available to the devotees, his kindness toward the devotees. So even when discussing the weapons of the Lord, Parashara Bhatta emphasizes that, of course, these are for killing the demons, but then the underlying purpose is for protecting the devotees. So always Parashara Bhatta brings that point in. Parashara Bhatta says that, makes the point that with all his weapons he protects the devotees, and the whole Vishnu-Sahasranama is very popularly chanted, especially not only in South India, but especially nowadays in South India, more than in North India. and specifically invoked for protection of those who chant it, and from all kinds of dangers that we can meet in this world. We're not likely to meet Hiranyakashipu directly, but there's all kinds of dangers and discrepancies and all kinds of threats, terror, and all kinds of things. So by reciting these names, and especially at the end, we have this name Sarva Praharanayayudha, he who has all weapons. So that gives assurance to the devotees at the end of protecting that all evil, the devotees will be protected from all evil. Of course, that evil is a very Western, Abrahamic kind of concept, the concept of evil. But in Vedanta understanding, or Vaishnava understanding, evil means not remembering Krishna, or somehow or other being disconnected from Krishna. Shankara mentioned Vishnu's use even of his fingernails as a weapon. And another commentator, Radha Krishna Shastri, brings out something even more seemingly innocuous. It's not going down. Leave that there. Okay. He has his chakra, he has his sword, he has his bow and arrows, he has his club, fearful weapons. Someone comes in with these assault rifles, terrible weapons. Someone may come in and threaten you. Now I'm going to release on you my weapon, a blade of grass. It's like a joke, isn't it? Blade of grass weapon. But for Vishnu, everything. He can use everything. Lord Rama used a blade of grass for the Kakasura, the son of Indra who attacked Sita. He just took a blade of grass and with a mantra he turned it into such a powerful weapon. And again, he was ready to forgive, even for making such an offense to his most dear, he was still ready to forgive the crow, the son of Indra, taking the form of a crow, for such a terrible offense. We also have Balaram with Romaharshana. That he, just with a blade of grass, he touched him. So anything can be used. Also, another grass weapon was used by Vamanadev, Darba grass, because he's a Brahmin. Right? In all cases, should be Darba grass. When Vamana had received the promise from Bali Maharaj to take 3 feet of land 3 steps of land by his own measurement. So the system is you have to pour water from the water pot into the hand of the person who's taking the boon as a symbolic sealing of the contract. So Shukra wanted to stop that, so he entered in the form of an insect in the spout of the water pot. So if something gets caught in the spout of a water pot, you may take some straw to remove it, to push that little grit or whatever it is. So Vamana, he inserted a little grass which gouged the eye of Shukra, who was later relieved from that. So you can't imagine also, with a piece of grass you can gouge someone's eye out. He didn't kill him, but he just did that. His eyes are also a weapon. Now, you may be thinking of Raja Leela, then everything of his flute is a weapon, his beauty is for the gopis, it's for killing their chastity. But specifically Bhishma says, we find this in Bhagavatam, that just by his glance what happened, in obedience to the command of his friend, here referring to Arjuna, Lord Sri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana, and while there he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. Just by looking, he shortened their lifespans. Generally, you may think if we get the glance of the Lord, he may lengthen our life, but in this case he shortened. And he said that before the battle. He told Arjuna that by my will, all these soldiers are already killed. It's just a drama to be played out, and you're the main protagonist in the drama. But actually, I'm the director behind the scenes, and I'm organizing everything. Everyone's going to be killed, with the exception of a few people, just a few, very few, survived. The 5 Pandavas and Satyaki, Kritavarma, Ashvatthama, Kripa. Yuyutsu? Yeah, he survived. So very few they survived. So Krishna, by his will, which was seen by, he just looked over everyone. They looked at him. They got delivered by him. He uses his weapons as per the situation and according to his form. In some avatars, he doesn't use any weapons. I was saying in Dashavatar that 4 of them are very peaceful. In Matsya Avatar, he doesn't use any weapon. The fish can also use weapons by their teeth. They can certain weapons, certain fish, but he didn't use any weapons. In Kama Avatar also, his weapons were unmanifest. So, but in both cases, he showed his great power, especially in the form of Kurma, by taking the whole Sumeru Parvat on his back. In Varaha Avatar, he used his club and his disc in fighting with Hiranyaksha, but ultimately he killed Hiranyaksha just by a slap of his forefoot. Just after all that tremendous fighting, and the whole universe was watching, and eventually he said, "Okay," just, and then killed him like that. In the Nrsimha Avatar, he killed Hiranyakashipu with his nails, but also his roaring served as a weapon to strike fear. In Vamana Avatar, as Brahmana, he only had his umbrella and his kamandalu, his water pot in his hand. But his weapon was his Brahmana cunningness. Everyone knows, right? Brahmanas, they also know. Why in the law courts in India, most of the lawyers are Brahmanas by caste. They know all the tricks. So, very intelligent and cunning people. But he showed his universal form also with so many weapons. In Parashuram avatar, famously he used his axe, but he also used a bow, and we see that he ultimately gave the bow to Rama, and also he had his trishul, his trident. Sri Rama is famous as Kodandaram with his bow, but he also sometimes used his sword, and we mentioned how Hanuman would see him with his other weapons also. The Sudarshan Chakra was hiding. Mostly he didn't manifest himself as if he was Vishnu. Balaram is known as Halayuddha. He used a plow as a weapon. Whoever thought of that? Using a plow, first of all, it's too big to pick up anyway for anyone except Balaram. And also he's known as Gadadhara, who used the club. Krishna mostly used his Sudarshan Chakra in his famous battle, but also, as we've seen in this discussion, he used at various times bows, sword, club, and so many different weapons. Buddha, saintly Buddha, didn't use any weapon, but his philosophy is a weapon for destroying dharma. So, very more dangerous than any weapon. If someone kills you with a sword, only the body is killed. But if you get infected with Buddhism, then it's practically killing your soul. That's one of the declarations of Buddha. It's part of. There's so many different schools of Buddhism, but one of the few things they all agree on is, because it was said directly by Buddha, there's no soul. No soul. Anatma. No soul. So most dangerous avatar of all is Buddha. He's dangerous to especially attractive to the demons, but if devotees get taken up by that, then it's very, very dangerous. It's worse inside. Of course, the Mayavadi is said to be worse than the Buddhists because they're covered Buddhists. They're saying the same thing in the name of the Vedas. From that point of view, they're very dangerous. But the idea that there's no soul, there's no Atma, at least the Mayavadis, they don't say that. They literally want to kill your whole spiritual inclination by saying there's nothing spiritual. So ultimately it comes to there's nothing. There's no matter, there's no spirit. Kalki Avatar famously uses his sword. Vishnu Purana says he also uses his bow. Little look at the Yuddha Kanda of Ramayana, the fighting, or the main fight is described in there, the fight with Ravana in Lanka. So Ravana was so powerful that when he released a spear, it was so powerful that it made such a great sound, and it smashed the arrows of the Lord while they were still coming toward him. So powerful. He was given that power. So Lord Rama, who was in the chariot of Indra, being driven by Indra's chariot driver, he picked up Indra's spear and hurled it and tore the spear of Ravana. So in this way he's being very kind to Indra, letting Indra perform some service. Indra couldn't have done that to Ravana. Indra was afraid of Ravana, but when Rama took up Indra's spear, then it became more powerful. Actually, the power is coming from him. It's not in the weapon per se. The power comes from him. So we can meditate on the speed and how he's throwing it just at the right angle and smashing into smithereens midair. And they're both moving on their chariot. They're maneuvering in the battle, and at the same time you have to discharge the weapons while you're moving and moving fast, and the angle may change at any second. It's no small thing to be a rati or a maharati. Lord Rama as a child was given weapons by Vishwamitra. They took weapons. Rama and Lakshman took weapons from the armory when they went with Vishwamitra, because he was specifically taking them for the sake of fighting. So even though they were young boys, they had their weapons there. So he took weapons. But then after doing what Vishwamitra wanted, for killing of Tartaka, Subahu and Tartaka, and Vishwamitra Rishi also had another idea in mind, that we'll take, after this, we'll take a little journey to Janakpur, to Mithila, and there's something else to do there also. There's one little girl there who would be a good idea if she married Rama. So he had that in mind also. He didn't say that at the time. But just after killing Tartaka and Subahu, then at the behest of Lord Indra, Vishwamitra gave many weapons to Lord Rama, which includes, is mentioned, discs, bolts, trident, maces, noose, spears, a sword, in this case called Nandana, arrows of the Gandharvas, arrows of the Pisachas, arrows of the sun, of the moon. Most of these weapons, there's no record of him using them throughout the Ramayana. But it is described when he returned to the spiritual world, all the weapons took their personal forms and returned with him. All the arrows are known as Kama Rupin. They can take any form according to his wish. So the arrows, you see the arrows, they can become snakes, or they can become fire, according to the desire of the Lord, according to the mantras he imparts in them. Brahmastra also, that was given by Agastya, Rishi Agastya, in Dandakaranya. One arrow on which the Lord invoked the Brahmastra that killed Ravana. So the actual power is in the mantra. But you have to have a suitable arrow. You just can't go to some sports shop and buy some arrows. And the arrows have to have the ability to take that, to bear that mantra also. Ram and Lakshman, as Kshatriya boys, they grew up practicing swords. They had swords. They had various weapons, but Agastya Rishi also gave them more, the Nandaka sword and 2 quivers. With his sword, Lakshman Bhagavan cut off the ears and nose of Tartaka and Shurpanaka, and the ears, nose and chest of Ayomukhi. Both Rama and Lakshman, the 2 lords, when they're being carried by Kabanda, the big Rakshasa, they both, while being carried, they use their swords to chop off his hands. So they're very skillful fighters. Even when they're caught by the demon, they had enough presence of mind and ability. They could take their sword and cut his arms off. And Shambhuk's head, the Shudra who was performing austerities in an adharmic way, had his head cut off by the sword of Lord Rama. Now, maybe question, why does the Lord need any weapons to destroy the devotee's enemies, when just by his desire he can destroy the whole universe, everything and anyone? As Lord Rama told Sugriva, when Sugriva was seeing, he's dressed like a rishi, he looks like a powerful kshatriya, but where's his army? He's just with his brother, and he's supposed to be helping me against this very powerful Vali. Sugriva himself is very powerful, but the Vali is so powerful. Lord Rama said, yep, I'm going to help you, I'm going to get your kingdom back, I'm going to get your wife back, I'm going to finish off that. And Sugriva was thinking, So Ram told Sugriva, Pishachan Danavan Yakshan Prithivyan Chaiva Rakshasan Angul Yagre Tan Hanyam Icchan Hari Ganeshvara. Oh, king of the army of monkeys, he said to Sugriva, who's actually not is speaking to him like that, although actually at the time he was deprived of his kingdom and his army. Hari Ganeshvara, he's saying. Hari Ganeshvara means king of the monkey. Hari also means monkey. O king of the army of monkeys, it is quite possible for me to destroy all the ghosts, the asuras, the yakshas, and all these rakshasas with the tip of my finger, if I desire. So it's pastimes, he enacts pastimes. By his desire only he can kill. As Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, Tasmat tvam utishta yashola bhasva jidva shatrun bhungsva rajang samriddham mayai vaite nihita purvameva nimittamatram bhavasavyasachin. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. Just by his desire, the soldiers on the battlefield were to be killed. Kamsa, he gave great fear to Kamsa just by thought weapon. Just by thinking of Krishna, Kamsa was always in fear. So there's the thought weapon, psychological warfare. Just thinking of him is enough to make Kamsa, he can't sleep all night. So why does he carry all the weapons? They put fear in the hearts of the enemies. Some check on them. Some check. And in this way, without his having to punish them. If people have fear of God, that's very much emphasized in Protestant Christianity. Fear of God. Actually, even in Catholic Christianity, I was raised in fear. I think they borrowed that from the Protestant. But it's there in the Bible. You should fear God. This idea, fear God. So that's required. For people who don't love God, you should at least fear Him. And it helps to keep people in line. Otherwise they perform more sins and then they do more harm to themselves than others. So it's good to show his weapons. Again, Krishna in his original aspect, we see here dancing in Vrindavan with the cowherd boys, but he needs to. You may think he's just some village boy, nothing to be afraid of. But he shows his weapon. Yeah, don't take me just as a little village boy. I've got them. I can use them, and if you don't behave, I will use them. So it's a deterrent. That's also what do they call that? Deterrent, nuclear deterrent. We have to have nuclear weapons just so that others don't attack us. And he uses them also. Even though by his desire alone he can kill all the demons, but he uses his weapons also. He can use anything, yeah, physical weapons. intellectual weapons. By speaking Bhagavad Gita, he overcame the doubts of Arjuna. Jahi Shatrang Mahabaho Kamarupe Durasadam. He said, Krishna told Arjuna, but taking the weapon, and repeatedly we have that in the Bhagavatam, take the sword of knowledge to cut all doubts. So here he told Arjuna, this very difficult enemy of lust, you overcome by knowledge. He is the material cause of everything, upadana karana, and the efficient cause, nimitta karana. So everything in time and space, there's nothing that can't be his weapon. He possesses all possible, imaginable weapons and unimaginable weapons also. He can turn anything he wants into a weapon. A piece of grass he can turn into a weapon. He's always ready to protect his devotees. So the best thing is to be a devotee. Get on the right side. It doesn't make sense to... But by showing his weapons, he shows to people, even if we're very selfish, and we just think of our own benefit, if we're intelligent, we'll take shelter of him rather than trying to cross him. We should consider. The descriptions are given there. Who is more powerful, Krishna or Shiva? Just so that you want to be on the right side, join Krishna. Don't go with all those ghosts and demons who follow Shiva. We worship Shiva, but his associates, many of them are not the proper kind of company we want to get into. They have their service, the weapon. All the servants, they know his desire to protect his devotees. So even without him saying, they're always ready to protect the devotees. In the previous name, Akshobhya, Baladev Vidyabhushan said that he's imperturbable because he cannot be overcome even if he's unarmed. And then he explains this last name, Sarva Praharanayudha, that he cannot be overcome even though unarmed, because he has all weapons of everyone, and he is the antaryami, or the indwelling super soul and the force in all weapons. So no others' weapons, the weapons of others cannot harm him because they're his own weapons ultimately anyway. He's the Paripurna Bhagavan, complete in all respects. So in Raja, Krishna doesn't use any weapons to kill. He does plenty of killing, but he doesn't use any weapons, which shows he doesn't ultimately need them. He kills Putana with his lips, Shakartasura by kicking, Trinavarta by his weight, and then ultimately by strangling him. He's imaginative, he's not boring. Agha, just by expanding his body within the throat of Agha Sura. Dhenuka and others by whirling them. He subdues Kaliya by kicking and dancing. Bakasura by bifurcating. Shankachura by beheading. Arishta by throwing him first of all, then thrashing him, and then beating him with one of his own horns. Having pulled out one of his horns, he beat him with that. Then Keshi by putting his arm in his mouth and expanding it so he couldn't breathe. With Vyomasura, it's unclear. It says, in the same way that one kills a sacrificial animal, but it's not said beyond that. Then in Mathura, he beheaded with his fingertips, the washerman who was coloring all the cloths. First one, just his first one he killed in Mathura. Taking a bow from the guards and soldiers at the entrance to the sacrificial arena, he took a bow, snapped it, and there's a makeshift weapon. And with snake, he just beat them all with that and killed them. Kuvalayapida, elephant. He took the tusk, he dragged the tusk out of the body of the elephant and killed the elephant and the keepers with his tusk. The wrestlers ankangsa, by beating and throwing. So these are some makeshift weapons. Arishta's horn, the snap bow, the tusk. Only when Jarasandha came, after Nanda Maharaj and the inhabitants of Vrindavan had left Mathura, then, without even asking, the personal weapons of Krishna and Balaram appeared. So that's his transition to being the Vasudeva feature. It becomes official and formal. Now the weapons have come. Balaram also didn't use weapons in Vraja. Further commentary on this, that his weapons, they signify his ardent desire to protect his devotees by singing the glories of the Lord with his weapons. In the very last verse, Bhishma wants to bring out this quality of Vishnu, his commitment to protect his devotees against all forces opposed to his devotees. And that's how Bhishma sees him. Bhishma is in the fighting rasa with Krishna. So it brings out his quality of protecting his devotees at all costs, under all circumstances, all places, all times. Some quotes from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam is from the verses and the translations of his different weapons. Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, Text 35 and 36. Iti stuta sangstuvata satasmin aghamarshane pradurasid kuru shrestha Bhagavan bhaktavat salaha kritapada suparnang se pralambashta mahabhujaha chakra shankhasi charameshu Danu Pasha Gadadaraha. Shukdev Goswami said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is extremely affectionate to his devotees, was very pleased by the prayers offered by Daksha, and thus he appeared at that holy place known as Aghamarshana. O Maharaj Parikshit, best of the Kuru dynasty, the Lord's lotus feet rested on the shoulders of his carrier Garuda, and he appeared with 8 long, mighty, very beautiful arms. In his hands he held a disc, conch shell, sword, shield, arrow, bow, rope, and club. In each hand a different weapon, all brilliantly shining. Here is mentioned also his shield, which is not exactly a weapon, but is part of the fighting gear. I need to stand up again, so we'll take another little break and maybe another half hour.
Let's do it.
Or do you want to have arati and then resume? But that's difficult for you with all this stuff. Okay, so I'll speak. Okay. Well, I have specific script here, so it'll be maybe about another half hour. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama
Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
from the summary to Canto 6, Chapter 8. After offering prayers to the Lord's personal expansions known as the Swamsha and Shaktyavi avatars, one should pray to the weapons of Lord Narayan. And we can pray to the weapons also. Such as Sudarshan, Gada, Shankha, Karga and bow. Karga means kind of sword. Asi is a word for sword. Karga, the different kinds of sword. From this chapter, Om Harir Vidadhan Mama Sarva Rakshang Nyastangri Padma Patagendra Prishthe Darari Charamasi Gadeshu Chapa Pashandadahanoshta Gunoshta Bahuhu. The Supreme Lord, who sits on the back of the bird Garuda, touching him with his lotus feet, holds 8 weapons: the conch shell, disc, shield, sword, club, arrows, bows, and ropes. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead protect me at all times with his 8 arms. He is all-powerful because he fully possesses the 8 mystic powers, Anima, Lakhima, etc. Elsewhere in this chapter, Sarva Padbhyo Harer Nama Rupa Yana Yudhani Naha Buddhindriya Mana Pranan Pantu Parshada Bhushanaha. Oh, alright. Yeah, I already read this. From a lecture Srila Prabhupada gave. When the rascal class of men say, I don't believe in God, that is a false statement. He believes in God. He believes in God, but he falsely says that I don't believe in God. But how does he believe? He believes in God as death. You see God's picture, Narayana's picture, 4-handed. In 2 hands, he has got the club and the disc. This is for death, the club hammering and the disc cutting the throat. God's 2 hands are engaged for this purpose, cutting and hammering. Another 2 hands, lotus flower, peace and prosperity, and conch shell, auspicious. So he's saying that even though the atheists, they're very strongly committed that there is no God. But for the atheist, mrityu sarva haraschaham, they come to him in the form of death. So yeah, I already quoted that. Jahi shatrum mahabaho kama rupam durasadam. We should pray to him for the intelligence and wisdom to employ the knowledge he gives as a weapon to destroy our ignorance. This metaphor is given by Krishna repeatedly to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is a fighting man, so you destroy the enemy of lust with the weapon of knowledge. Lord Chaitanya's weapon, as described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 3, text 52, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna. His body is always decorated with ornaments of sandalwood and with sandalwood paste. By his super excellent beauty, he subdues all the people of this age. In the other descents, the Lord sometimes used weapons to defeat the demoniac. But in this age, the Lord subdues them with his all-attractive figure as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that his beauty is his astra, or weapon, to subdue the demons. So there you go, the weapon of beauty. All our hopes for enjoying in this material world are destroyed. And we saw that also in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was expounding the demoniac philosophy of impersonalism, he was very charmed by the beauty of this young sannyasi. His beauty and his gentle behavior. There was one Muslim king, just when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached the border of Orissa, they came to the river, that must be Rup Narayan River, and on the other side is Bengal. They warned, don't go there, don't go to the other side. There's a Muslim king who's like a bandit or a robber, so it's very dangerous to go there. But the king sent his spy to check out what's going on the other side, and the spy came back and said, "Wow, this is no ordinary sadhu. He's just so beautiful and emanating bliss." So the king went to see him, and just by seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave up his wicked demoniac mentality. In Srila Prabhupada's purport to Canto 4, Chapter 11, Text 1 of Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada writes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also given us a nice weapon for this age, as stated in the Bhagavatam, Sango Pangastra. In this age, the Narayanastra, or weapon to drive away Maya, is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra in pursuance of the associates of Lord Chaitanya, such as Advaita Prabhu, Nityananda, Gadadhar, and Srivas. So people are coming to Krishna consciousness looking for shelter from this nasty material world. Having come, we tell people, take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, but then we send them out to fight. Go out and fight in the world. Shelter is an attack. The best, what is that? Attack is the best means of defense. Kabunabhadi, this Kurma Brahmana, was very afraid. He wanted to go with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, no, if I'm at home, then if I stay, I have to go with you. And now you came, and now why should I stay at home in all this Maya? If I just remain here, I'll be overcome by Maya again. I should go with you. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, Jare deko tare koha Krishna upadesh, amaragai guru hoya tara edesh. You stay here, you preach Krishna's instructions, and this way become a guru, deliver this land. Kabu na bhadi be tomai e bishoy taranga, punarapi e tai pabi morashanga. By this preaching, you will not be overcome by the waves of material existence, the waves of sense gratification. And you'll meet me in this very place. You don't have to come with me. So shelter is an attack. It seems counterintuitive. If we go away, lock ourselves away, monastery, this is advertised as a monastery. The idea is, monastery, you're cloistered away. Cloister means you're in an area where you're just locked away from everyone and you're free from Maya. But Maya goes inside the walls of the monastery also. Once in South America, someone after a class said to Srila Prabhupada, who's a little complaining mood, oh, there's so much Maya in the temple. And Prabhupada said, where is that place where there's no Maya? So we have to take up Lord Chaitanya's attack with love. Go out and fight in the world for Krishna. Not everyone takes it up. Sarva praharanayudha om nama iti. This name concludes the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, which is followed by the Phala Shruti, which means the promises of what you get by chanting these names. Not all commentators have commented on the Phala Shruti. And even these last words, Sarva Praharanayudha Om Nama Iti, Some comment on this, and because after this name is repeated again. So some commentators, they comment on this last line, and some go on to the Phala Shruti also to comment. Shankaracharya comments on this last line that this is repeated, Sarva Praharanayudha, and then it's repeated again at the end. And Shankara says that repetition marks the end of the work. And the syllable Om is used for auspiciousness. And he quotes in this regard from Brihanaradiya Purana that the words Om and Ata proceeded from the throat of Brahma in the beginning. They are auspicious. So, and by Namaha, the obeisances are offered to Lord Vishnu. From Ishopanishad he quotes, Bhuyishtam te nama uktim vidhema. That Vishnu is to be worshipped with the word Namaha. And Shankara points out that it is the practice, the well-established practice of the righteous people to offer Namaha, pranam to Bhagavan at the beginning as well as at the end of any important act. This repeating at the end, that is standard. We have in each division of the Vedanta Sutra, that is anavriti shabdat, at the end it repeats. That's one way of showing that that's the end. And emphasizes the final concluding point. Shankara gives this verse at the end of his commentary. Ekopi Krishne Sukrita Pranamo Dashashvamedava Brithena Tulya Dashashvamedhi Punareti Janma Krishna Pranami Na Apuna Bhavaya. Even once offering respect with sincerity to Krishna is equivalent to 10 Ashrameda Yagyas properly performed. He who has performed the Ashrameda Yagya can still take another birth, but who offers respect to Krishna is never reborn. Atasi pushpa sankasham pitavashasam achutam yenamasyanti govindam natesham vidyate bhayam. Shankara goes on to say, there is no fear for those who bow down before Govinda, whose color resembles that of the Atasi flower, who is clad in yellow cloth and never lets his devotees fall. He continues, Shankara continues, Lokatraya adi patim apratima prabhavam ishat pranamya shirasa prabhavishnam isham janmantra pralaya kalpa sahasra jatam asu pranasham upayati narasya papam. The sins committed by a person in his past births, even over 1,000 ages and destructions, even going back in even before the creation of this world, we come at the creation of the world, we come with so many sins. Unlimited sins are immediately destroyed, even by slightly bowing one's head before the Supreme Lord, who is of incomparable excellence and the master of the three worlds. Regarding this Om at the end, the commentator Sri V.V. Ramanuja quotes, Omityekshaksharam Brahma. Om is the one syllable, which is Brahma, which is all spiritual. Then again, in Gita, Krishna says, Tasmat Om ityuda hritya yagyadana tapah kriyaha pravartante vidhano ta satatam brahmavadinam. The sacrificial acts performed according to the rules in the Vedas gifts and austerity by the expounders of the Vedas, or such acts as those which are meant for persons in the Varnashram system, the twice born, are always and at all times begun after pronouncing the syllable Om at the beginning. So at the as standard to begin and end a work with Om, and Satya Sandatirtha of the Madhva Sampradaya, he also he quotes it slightly differently without saying Sava Praharanayudha. He simply says Om Namo Iti at the end, and he says that this is a separate phrase following the version of Sloka, the 107th verse. And again, he says it signifies as the conclusion of this verse. Anyway, there could be so much said about all of these names. As Rishabha says, he is Sva Mahimavasthanena, situated in his own spiritual glory. These names recognize and amplify that he is situated in his own spiritual glory. And the names, they simply give different perspectives and different insights on his various glories, and they're meant for glorifying him. And the commentaries seek to further illuminate his glories, as I have also tried to do so in this commentary. A final meditation from Narayana Kavacha. Tenaiva satyamanena sarvagyo bhagavan harihi patu sarvaisurupayana sadar sarvatra sarvaga. For advanced persons, the Lord's bodily decorations, his name, his fame, his attributes, and the forms and the weapons in his hands are manifestations of the strength of his potency according to their elevated spiritual understanding. The omniscient Lord, who manifests various forms, is present everywhere. May he always protect us everywhere from all calamities. So by remembering the name of the Lord, his form, everything, these are all described throughout Vishnu-Sahasranama. Let us remember them all and be protected always by him. The first name in Vishnu-Sahasranama is Vishvam. I started this series of talks on the 4th of December 2011 in Secunderabad. So after 12 and a half years, I've been through speaking on 1,000 names. So that's the end of my speaking on that. However, we're missing the talks on some of the names. They're not. They were all recorded. You must have recorded many of them. Yeah? It was actually your idea to start recording them with video. I used to say, what's the point? I said, what's the point, right? Because the hearing is the important thing. So we're missing the talks on name 385 Guha, 384 before. Oh, it's not in order. Okay, let's say in order. Missing 218 Vachaspati, 219 Udaradhi, 220 Ugrani, 221 Gramani, 222 Shriman. That's probably one talk I did. Possibly I did one talk, 6 names which got lost. And 384 Gahana and 385 Guha, that maybe was one talk also. And then 3 names, 650 Sura, 651 Surajaneswara, 652 Trilokatma. So it seems that 3 of these talks are missing. So if you happen to know anyone, or if you happen to have them, maybe on one of those old CDs or DVDs, let us know. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Vishnu-Sahasranama ki jai. Hare Krishna. It's 8 p.m., so 7 p.m. was scheduled for Arati, so we'll have it at 8 p.m. instead.
Thank you.
You want to say something? You're always saying so many things. Okay.
Maharaj, thank you. It's really an honor that you chose Krishna life to actually finish.
Well, I didn't really choose it, but I thought it'd be good to finish this series of names at a Shravan Kirtan camp.
Yeah.
And one of the bigger ones in India would have been better, but we don't have any coming up for another half a year, and I didn't want to spread it, to delay it so much. So it wasn't that I favor you over others, but it was just convenient. I thought I'd finish off here.
It's still an honor for us, Maharaj. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor for us all to be in the association of devotees who have dedicated their lives to propagating the glories of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
So Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Vishnu-Sahasranama ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, today's session will end here. Devotees are requested to go downstairs and take prasadam so that we don't make this very late. So, thank you very much. Tomorrow's program will begin at 5 a.m. at Mangalarati. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Okay, sure. Do you need any help wrapping up? Okay.